In the chaos of World War II, survival wasn't just about bullets and bombs. Soldiers endured freezing nights, hunger that gnawed at the stomach, disease that crept silently through the ranks, and the constant unpredictability of life on the front lines. What kept them alive wasn't always advanced weaponry or brute strength. It was often the small, ingenious tricks they learned through experience. Tricks so simple, yet so effective that they could mean the difference between life and death. Disease was as lethal as enemy fire. Dysentery, typhus, and trenchfoot claimed thousands. Soldiers were issued dark red carbolic soap, a pungent, strong-smelling bar designed to kill bacteria. But it wasn't just for washing hands. Men used it to clean wounds, sterilize surgical tools, and even disinfect water containers. Losing a single bar could mean weeks of suffering, infections, or worse. This humble bar of soap became a silent shield against invisible killers in the most dangerous conditions. Lighting a fire in enemy territory could be deadly. The smoke alone could reveal your position. Soldiers invented a simple yet ingenious solution. Punch holes in an empty tin can, place a candle inside, and use it as a covert stove. The metal trapped heat and shielded the flame from the wind, allowing them to toast bread, warm water, or heat canned rations without creating a visible column of smoke. A small flame, perfectly controlled, could save a life in the freezing cold or isolated jungles. Coffee wasn't just a drink, it was a lifeline. Soldiers often reused coffee grounds 2 or 3 times to stretch their supply, but they sometimes added toasted barley or chicory to maintain flavor. Beyond nourishment, it was a psychological comfort, a tiny ritual that reminded men of home and normalcy. In a world of constant danger, morale was a weapon as important as any rifle, and coffee, in its humble simplicity, kept spirits alive on the darkest nights. Access to clean water was a constant challenge. Soldiers improvised by crumbling dense, dark bread into a cloth, pouring water through it. It removed visible sediment, making the water safer to boil or chemically treat. While it didn't eliminate bacteria, it bought precious time. In survival, every second counts, and even a partially purified water supply could sustain life long enough to find a better source. Cigarettes weren't just a habit, they were a currency. In occupied territories, soldiers could trade a single cigarette for food, medicine, or information. In tense standoffs, offering one could distract an enemy or buy critical seconds to act. Commanders never officially endorsed this use, but veterans recall how tobacco could be just as powerful as ammunition in delicate situations. The smallest kit could mean the difference between frostbite and survival. Soldiers stitched torn coats, repaired boots, and even mended mosquito nets. Thread became a fishing line, and a single needle could extend the life of vital gear by weeks. In extreme conditions, improvisation wasn't optional, it was essential. Matches failed in wet conditions, and lighters weren't always reliable. Soldiers soaked cloth in engine oil or animal fat, stored it in tins, and used it to ignite wet wood. It burned long enough to start a fire, providing warmth and cooked food in freezing or rainy conditions. Dirty, smoky, and smelly, it worked every time, and it saved lives. Salt preserved more than food. Soldiers rubbed it into meat to prevent spoilage, packed it in boots to remove moisture, and applied it to leather gear to prevent mold. In humid jungles or rainy forests, salt was as valuable as gold, keeping rations edible and gear usable when everything else was rotting. Uniform buttons disappeared at the worst possible moments. Soldiers rolled wet bread into balls, pressed holes, and sun-dried them. The resulting buttons were surprisingly durable, enough to hold a coat together during forced marches. Small innovations like this, almost laughable in peacetime, were lifelines in war. Even a simple deck of playing cards could save lives. POWs peeled apart dampened cards to reveal escape maps hidden inside, navigating back to safety. Soldiers adapted ordinary objects for extraordinary purposes. It wasn't magic. It was ingenuity, resourcefulness, and understanding the tools at hand. The brilliance of these survival hacks lies not just in practicality, but in mindset. Soldiers had no luxury of endless supplies. They innovated under pressure, using what they had. Today, campers, homesteaders, and survivalists can learn from these same techniques. Ingenuity, adaptability, and resourcefulness remain the most powerful tools, sometimes even more than modern equipment. If you found these hidden World War II survival hacks fascinating, subscribe to Forgotten Survival for more forgotten skills and practical lessons from history.